Hello and welcome to another episode of the Average Joe Football Show. I'm your host, Joe Fair. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to another episode of Scotty Scheffler's favorite football podcast. I'm joined once again by my illustrious producer, Mike Fair. How's it going, Mike?
Hey guys, we're back. That's right. It is going great over here, Joe. I did see a Scotty tweet about us, and we have to give him a shout out after his massive Masters win. For those of you who don't know, Scotty Scheffler is the number one ranked golfer on the PGA Tour right now, and he just came off a massive victory, winning the Masters, basically the Super Bowl of golf. Mr. Electric Scheffel, Scotty Scheffler.
Electric Scheffel, there you go. Yeah, man, I that's really funny. Right before the show, I always have the person that I say it's their favorite podcast. And Mike recommended that I do Scotty Scheffler. And I was literally going to do that anyways, as a surprise to Mike. I don't watch a whole lot of golf. I like golf. I like to play golf. I'm not good at it by any means, but I like to watch it. Now, I was actually tuned in and watched the end of the Masters this past week, I guess it was. And like I said, I don't watch a lot of golf, but I watch enough to know that that guy was playing out of his mind this last weekend. What did he finish? -10, I think it was. I think he was at -12, and then he had like a 2-putt there at the end that kind of screwed everything up. But that was kind of fun to watch, to be honest.
Yeah, no, he was coming into the hole 18, and I think he had to make like a, what would that be, 5 strokes. So he had to make a 9 on hole 18 in order to tie second place. So he had plenty of wiggle room to win that tournament, and yeah, he just decided to fall apart on the green there to close it out. But I mean, nerves were probably stupid high. No, it was epic, Joe. It was an epic tournament. I watch the Masters like every year. Rory was climbing up, shot 8 under, course record on the final day, so that was epic. Wow. But yeah, no, Mr. Scotty Scheffler out there just balling, Joe. One day, me and you will be there. Maybe when we're 35, 40. Get some lessons. We'll be at the Masters. We'll be playing.
We got time. I mean, listen, there's, is there not like in golf tournaments, is there not like amateurs that also are in these, is the Masters like that too? Or is like that a different, really? So like amateur people play in these tournaments?
I think they're like college amateurs. I would have to look it up on how they get selected. But yeah, I think they get like 4 college amateurs, and whoever shoots the lowest score out of the 4 gets to come back, I believe, the next year.
Dang. Yeah, man, we just have to enroll in college like J.R. Smith did, and then we play NCAA golf, and then we'll just be in the Masters a couple years from now.
I mean, if J.R. Smith can botch a moment in the finals, switch to golf, and potentially become pro, I think anybody can. So I mean, hey, there's still hope for us, Joe. I just went and bought myself a new set of Titleist irons, so I'm already moving my way up there, Joe.
Listen, Mike is a serious golfer. For those of you guys that don't know me, I'm the kind of guy who I go and I lose a good handful of balls when I go, and it's like take a couple mulligans here and there. Mike's not really like that. He's kind of a big deal when it comes to golf, and it's a little intimidating.
That's true. I've the last 2 tournaments I've played, and I've won $600 worth. So I mean,
really,
we're out here. Yeah, we're out here balling. I've paid for a lot of my golf gear with that. So
dang.
Yeah, no, golf goes hard. I mean, it's not always just me. Usually it's like a scramble tournament where you got teammates, but we've been balling. Our team's it's solid right now.
There you go. Goodness, I've been really thinking about getting more into golf this year because as my son's not even a year old yet, but I'm just thinking of like hobbies that we can do in the future, like fun things we can do together. And I figured golf is like the perfect thing to just a hobby to just have with your son. However, I need to like keep myself in check because I'm a hyper competitive person, and the better I get at golf, I feel like the less fun I might have at golf, because the more frustrated I will get when I like shank one onto the road or something, and then it's like, I'm screaming and my son is crying, and it's just a whole ordeal.
Gotcha. Yeah, Joe, I can tell you that's exactly what happens. You spend so much time into hitting a golf ball, and you get out on the course and the range work just doesn't translate. And me and my wife and my daughter went today, and it was like a hole 1 second shot, chunked it, hit the ball, like I hit 14 feet behind the ball, it felt like. And the ball went absolutely nowhere, and I almost threw my club. Like, I'm not one to get super angry, but when you have everything figured out and then you go to the course and it just doesn't translate, it is the most frustrating thing in the world.
No doubt. I feel like, yeah, the more work you put in, the more frustrating it is. And then like playing with friends, like it's all fun until you guys start to take it a little bit seriously, and then all of a sudden you're getting beat by one of your friends, and it's like, okay, this is not that fun anymore. I should have just worked a couple hours.
I have a rule, and yeah, exactly. I have a rule. I'll bring drinks to the golf course. If within the first 2 holes, if I'm striking the ball good, I'm feeling good, I'll play serious. Within the first 2 holes, if I'm striking the ball terrible, I'll just crack open some beers and enjoy the afternoon. Like, there's just no point in getting frustrated at that point. It's just like, okay, it's just going to be a fun practice-ish round. We're just going to, just have a good time.
I feel like I could manage that. That I feel like is doable, but
oh yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, Joe. We do have a decent sized show for you guys today. We did take a week off just because scheduling stuff. We were recording on Saturdays. We didn't want to record on Saturdays, so now we're recording this on a Thursday. Just to kind of get back in the swing of things. We kind of took that week off to reset the schedule, and then I think this episode will probably go up on Monday. I'm not sure. It's gonna be a little, again, I'm taking over as the editor and producer of the podcast, which is new. So you'll just have to bear with us the next few weeks. But Mike, we have the NFL draft just around the corner, the 28th of this month. We got 2 more episodes before the draft, so we're gonna talk a little bit of draft today. After we hit some news, we're gonna talk about some of our dream draft pick scenarios, draft picks that we would love to see, draft picks that are exciting, draft picks that I've done this. If you're listening to this podcast, the last 2 seasons, this is the 3rd draft season we've had with this podcast, which is crazy. If you listen to this podcast before, the last few years, I've done this segment before, but now the first time I have Mike. Mike, what are your thoughts just before we get into anything, just the draft as a whole, before we get into the news? How much have you been paying attention to the draft? Do you have any thoughts on like the overall, just the overview of the draft this year in 2022?
Yeah, Joe. This year I haven't been paying a whole lot of attention to the draft. Usually years prior, the draft's pretty loaded, either quarterback heavy or receiver heavy or whatever it is. This year, I'm not trying to knock the talent. There's plenty of talent there in the draft, but I feel like this year just hasn't been as like, what would the word be? As televised, I guess. Like, I don't know. It's just not. For me, it seems like it's not as big this year. And, that could very well be because of the massive offseason we've had when it came to free agency, that it just kind of overshadowed everything else that's going to happen this offseason. So yeah, I haven't been paying a whole lot of attention to the draft, but I have some picks of players I would like to see go to certain teams to help certain needs. But yeah, no, I am super excited to be on here for the draft. The draft is always something that's fun to watch, even if you don't know anybody in the draft. Just watching your team, make selections and hope one day that they're big superstars, as we saw Mac Jones last year with the Patriots.
Yeah, absolutely. I also this year. Usually, the draft is like one of my favorite, my favorite time of year. Really, this year has kind of been a little bit of a down year for me as far as the draft goes as well. I haven't paid like a ton of attention. I know the quarterbacks are not huge in this year's draft. It's not like last year's draft class where there's like 5 or 6 quarterbacks that could go in the first round. So that definitely, brings the entertainment value down a little bit. But definitely it's an interesting draft. I think there's still a ton of talent and a ton of good players available. They're just at kind of different positions. I think like the receiver position, I still think has really, really good players in this draft and a lot of good corners and stuff. But yeah, no, it'll be interesting. this draft as a whole to dive into it. And this is the first we're going to talk about it on this podcast. So just kind of introducing our audience to the 2022 NFL draft and a lot of the players in it. So I'm definitely excited to talk about that. And, getting into like prepping for the podcast got me excited for the draft again. Like I said, wasn't like paying a ton of attention, but I was like doing little mock drafts here and there and like, and just like researching players. And it gets me fired up to get back into draft season. I don't know about you.
Yeah, no, basically anytime, you get past the Super Bowl and you just feel lonely and depressed. And then, you hear of the free agency and the offseason and the draft. It gets you hyped for what's to come in August and September. And it all starts here, Joe. Like a lot of coaches will say, the Super Bowl is won in, March and April when you make these big how do you say that word? Acquisitions?
I think acquisitions is correct.
Okay, yeah, I was trying to go big there on the word and almost it failed on me. Anyway, you make these big, you take these big opportunities to draft these players and pick up these players, and it just shapes your team. It gets you into either playoff form or tank form. If you make the correct choice, if you do your research, if you did a lot of scouting and it all pays off. We'll see you in February. We'll see you in January in the playoffs. Super Bowl, and if you're a team that just, like I've said before, the New England Patriots, who just seem to struggle when it comes to draft times, like you'll see that happen. You'll see that play into the season. But like I said, it's a very exciting time. Just talking football again, getting ready for the draft. The draft's always fun, regardless. Like I said, if you know anybody or not. So I'm pumped. I can't wait for the next 2 weeks, Joe. What about you?
All right, a little hard cut. Sorry, we had some audio issues, and the audio issues were completely my fault. I just discovered why last week's episode sounded a little bad, and this week's episode was sounding bad.
It's because of Apple.
It's because of Apple, exactly. It's because of Steve Jobs from the grave.
Just kidding, guys.
No, it's because of my idiocy. I was recording the audio instead of through my expensive mic that I paid a ton of money for. The audio was being recorded through my headphones, my Apple headphone mic. So it was just a complete mess. So I apologize.
Apple trying to take credit for everything,
Exactly. There they go again, trying to take credit for everything. But they can gladly take credit for my stupidity. But no, I apologize. I hope the audio is better now than it was before. I was wondering, I just noticed something was off, but I wasn't sure what it was. And now I finally figured it out. So this one's going to be a pain in the butt to edit, but as if I'm not busy enough. But anyways, Mike, we're both excited for the draft. I think that's what we were talking about last. But before we get into the draft, why don't we talk a little bit of news that's going around in the NFL. And why don't we start things off with a little bit of somber news. We never want to talk about stuff like this. You never want to, not that you don't want to, talk about it, but you don't want to have to talk about it because it sucks that something like this happened. But this past weekend, Saturday on, I believe it was April 9th, Saturday morning, Dwayne Haskins, the backup quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers, former first-round pick of the Washington football team. I believe they went by a different name when they picked him. But the Washington Commanders now, formerly the 15th overall pick in the 2018 draft. He actually passed away this past Saturday after being struck by a truck on while I believe trying to cross the highway, a busy highway, and he was struck and killed by a truck. So just a very, very, very sad news. He was 24 years old. Stunning, shocking, heartbreaking, terrible news for a guy that, looked like he was really trying to get his career, back on the right path. He was an incredible college football player, one of the greatest college football players of all time. When it comes to the quarterback position, he was unbelievable at Ohio State, and you just hear tons of stories about how he was just trying to, get back to that starting position, trying to get back to just being the best teammate he could be, and it's so sad, Mike, to see a guy cut down in his prime like this, just a freak accident.
Yeah, it's never fun talking about and mourning the loss of anyone really, especially such a young player. Joe, he was our age, 24, I believe he said, or 25,
Mm-hmm.
and
He
I
was born
believe
the same year as us.
Yeah, I believe he had just got done practicing with teammates. And then you see the Chase Claypool video of him just breaking down, and the day before talking to Najee Harris and just having just a good time, and it just puts things into perspective that time here on Earth is very, very valuable because there's not a whole lot of time there. You can't always plan for a living for eternity because that'll never happen. But you just gotta live every moment like it's your last. And thoughts and prayers to his family. But yeah, it's devastating when he did struggle in the NFL, but you could tell, like you said, he was trying to come back and become a starter again. He was very young. He had plenty of time up to this point, to try and get a starting job back, and just absolutely heart-wrenching that his life was taken so early on, Joe.
Yeah, and it's he was a husband and a brother and a son, and his wife had a really great statement that I believe the Pittsburgh Steelers posted on Twitter. So I would highly recommend going and reading that, and it just gives you kind of perspective onto the person that is Dwayne Haskins, because we do this podcast and we are constantly in this football world talking football, and we often forget the human aspect of these players. They're real people. They're not, these superhumans. They're not these, superheroes or fairy tales. They're real guys, and they have real families, and they're not invincible. And things like this can happen to anybody. And like you said, yeah, life is so short. And I have no doubt that Dwayne Haskins, he lived an incredible life, and I think he lived his life to the fullest. He, like I said, he was just an incredible draft prospect, one of the greatest college quarterbacks ever. And I don't know if you saw that video of him as a kid visiting Ohio State, and then saying, and he was just a little kid where he's wearing an Ohio State uniform, and he's saying, I'm going to go to college here. And then he ends up going to college there, and he puts up the greatest passing season in the history of that university, and he finishes third in the Heisman vote behind Tua and Kyler Murray, and just incredible, just an incredible person. And we didn't know him personally, but it is heartbreaking to see something like that happen. And thoughts and prayers to his family and the whole, all his teammates and his friends. And it sucks to have to talk about something like this.
Yeah, no, I did see the clip, Joe, and it just sucks. Like, such a young player, so much talent, never really got to show it, and that's the part that blows. Like, of course the passing sucks, losing a loved one, family member, but all the unseen potential, all the expectations that could have been, just absolutely
and just
heartbreaking
because of a freak accident as well. And nothing like, it wasn't a guy who went out there and drank himself to death or overdosed, despite what stupid Gil Brandt wants to say about, I don't know if you saw Gil Brandt, the 90-year-old guy, basically saying stuff like on the radio how this guy was living to die or whatever. Like, that's just, he died in a freak accident, and it's so disappointing. Like, all the untapped potential, not only just as a football player, because that's secondary, obviously, to the human aspect, but just, as a person, 24 years old, he had a whole life to live. He had, kids to have and all that. So just definitely thoughts and prayers to the whole Haskins family and everybody involved. And just definitely a very heartbreaking story. But with that, we'll try to pivot onto other things. It's tough, but we'll try to pivot onto the rest of the news real quick before getting into the draft. And first up, we have a couple of contract extensions for wide receivers. We got Stephon Diggs signing a 4-year, $104 million extension to keep him in Buffalo for at least 6 more seasons. He's now making $26 million per year, top 5 in the NFL as far as receiver earnings. And then you have Brandon Cooks, also signs a 2-year, $39.6 million extension, about $19.8 million per year. Mike, what are your thoughts overall on either one of these extensions or both of these extensions or either one of these receivers? What are your thoughts on these 2 extensions, these 2 receivers, and how this affects or helps their teams going forward?
Well, for both teams, it's a massive help just because it's their number 1 guys, basically. Brandon Cooks has been, he's been a pretty elite receiver for the past, years with the Texans, Pats. Don't know if he did a whole lot with the Rams, but go back to his Saints days. He was massive with the Saints. So, Texans keeping him is great. I don't know who their starting quarterback will be next year. If it's Davis Mills, he'll be game to get his number 1 guy back. And then we move on to, Stephon Diggs. I mean, massive contract there. And, I know Josh Allen, I guarantee he loves seeing that. He's got his number 1 guy, and they're ready to run it back in the East. And, Diggs is, a very talented receiver. So I believe that money was well-deserved. His time in Minnesota killed it. His time in Buffalo's done absolutely amazing. Just absolutely well-deserved. I got something for you, Joe. I read a report that Deebo Samuel's apparently wanting an extension of up to $25 million a year. Yeah. I don't know. I believe I saw a report that he might be willing to sit out if he doesn't get it.
Yeah, that's I've seen that's quietly been a storyline at the. I feel like not a lot of the main outlets are talking about it, but Deebo Samuel, wants a contract extension up to $25 million per year, so that'd be around what Stephon Diggs is making. Yep. That's tough. It's a tough situation because if you look at Deebo Samuel, he had an obviously unbelievable year last year. But before that, struggled to stay healthy throughout his career. And, it's tough. If you have a really good receiver on your team right now, it's really tough because the receiver market is absolutely exploding in the NFL. And it's because guys like Tyreek Hill and Devontae Adams. And I'm surprised Stephon Diggs honestly didn't get more. I think that shows that he wanted to be in Buffalo. So yeah, it's a tricky situation if you have an elite receiver. And we're seeing different teams do different things. Like we're seeing the Green Bay Packers and the Kansas City Chiefs saying, okay, we're not going to pay these receivers. That's too much money. But then you're seeing teams like the Dolphins and the Raiders and the Bills, and they're saying these guys are worth it. These are elite receivers. It's going to be interesting to see who's right in the end. Like, do you pay these receivers borderline $30 million a year, or do you go to the draft, like what we're going to talk about later, and where it seems like you can find receivers, a dime a dozen in the NFL draft? It's definitely an interesting thing to talk about. But as far as Stephon Diggs and Brandon Cooks, it's Stephon Diggs, super key re-signing. I think he's so big to what the Bills do. Him and Josh Allen, their connection is massive. And Brandon Cooks, quietly one of the most underrated receivers, I think, in the NFL. I mean, this guy just gets 1,000 yards every single season. It doesn't matter which team he's on. But yeah, Brandon Cooks is definitely much deserved. There's a lot of rumors about him potentially being traded, which would have been like the 4th time he had been traded in his career. So they save him. Yeah, they save him from doing that. That guy is just Mr. Consistency. He's just a really good receiver. I think he would have been really good on whatever team would have traded for him, but now he's going to be, good on a rebuilding Texans team. I guess the Texans got to keep some people on that roster,
Yeah, that's for sure. And if they don't re-sign him, Joe, we probably have to deal with someone trying to sit out, until they get their money, and they've already dealt with that enough with Deshaun Watson, so they were probably like, no, we're going to pay the dude, we're going to move on.
Yeah, don't want to deal with that anymore. But yeah, the Deebo Samuel is definitely an interesting situation to keep an eye on as well, and I'm sure we'll have to talk a little bit more about that when that kind of comes to a head in the future. But another contract extension, Derek Carr for the Las Vegas Raiders, the quarterback, gets a brand new extension as well. He signs a 3-year, $121 million extension through 2025 with $40.5 million guaranteed. I expected this to happen. There was a lot of reporting that this was going to happen. And then it did, and it makes sense to me. You brought in Davante Adams, you brought in his college teammate. It makes sense. Just bring back Derek Carr. I like Derek Carr. I think he's underrated. I think he's a good quarterback. I'm definitely intrigued to see, what this Raiders team will be going into this season. Like what the expectations are. Like what are your expectations for this Raiders team? How they look in their division? How they look as a team? Like, should we expect them to make the playoffs again, or like, what should we be expecting out of this Las Vegas Raiders team now with Derek Carr under contract for a few more years?
Yeah, no. It sucks because of the division they're in, Joe. It's going to be tough, but the Raiders are no sleeper. Adding, Chandler Jones on the defense, Max Crosby gets re-signed, Derek Carr gets re-signed, adding Davante Adams on the offense to go along with Hunter Renfrow and Darren Waller. Like, this Raiders team is easily capable of a playoff run, and not just a playoff run, like a deep playoff run. Derek Carr, I believe, is now making top 5 quarterback money. And I think it's time for him to continue to prove that he is a top quarterback in this league. Like, a lot of people doubt Derek Carr, but he silently puts up, big numbers. I'm a big Derek Carr fan, and I think getting Davante Adams is going to absolutely help that offense. And, he might just become it might help him take that next step. So I think re-signing him or, extending him for another 3 years was definitely the best decision to make. That way they don't fall into the trap of not having a quarterback. You always need a quarterback, especially a quarterback with the consistency of Derek Carr. Like, he's been playing good football basically his entire career. I know he struggled there for a year or two, but lately he's been on fire. And like I said, building that team around him. I mean, the Raiders are easily a 2 seed at worst in that division. I would say, you got the Chargers, the Raiders, and then it's a toss-up between the Broncos and Chiefs for number 3.
Oh wow. Okay, all right. That's a hot take right there. To me, that whole division is still a complete mess, and I feel like I need to go the rest of the offseason before making any more predictions on how that division turns out. Like,
let me rephrase. The reason I'm going to rank it that way is if you look, the Chargers, I feel like made the biggest, if not some of the best acquisitions in the offseason. The Raiders would be number 2. And then the Broncos, don't get me wrong, they got Russell Wilson, but is Russell Wilson alone enough to get you to a Super Bowl? I don't know. And the Chiefs really haven't done a whole lot. So I kind of just ranked them based off of what they were doing in the offseason. That's not like I think that the Chargers are by far the best team in the division. With what they've gotten in the offseason, I would put them there.
That makes sense. That totally makes sense. Like I said, I still think the Chiefs are. I think people are underestimating them a little bit. I know you're a Chiefs hater, so you got to go out there and put the hate on the Chiefs. But Derek, as far as Derek Carr goes, I think he's a good like baseline quarterback. Like, he's not gonna have like an MVP season, although he almost did like in 2016, I think it was. He's just a consistent guy, and I think that can be underappreciated at times. He did have some throws like this past season, watching him in the playoffs, him playing against Joe Burrow. I remember he had some really nice throws in that game, and I think the game against the Chargers too, to get them into the playoffs. I just was watching Derek Carr. I was like, this guy's good. Like, this guy's really, really talented. He's got a great arm, and I'm definitely curious to see how things go with the Raiders this upcoming season. See just how far he can take them, and how, if they can continue to build around him. But we'll get the chance to see that the coming years as he signs this brand new extension. Speaking of quarterbacks with extensions or not with extensions, or looking for extensions, Kyler Murray back in the news again, as just today, we're recording this on a Thursday again. Like I said before, news comes out, Kyler Murray has not received a single contract offer. He's going into the 4th year of his career, if I'm not mistaken. He's looking for a new contract. Apparently, I just saw reports that he's looking for somewhere from like $40 to $50 million per year, which is elite quarterback money. He apparently has not received a single offer from the Arizona Cardinals, and him and his agent have apparently made it quite clear that Kyler Murray does not intend to play for the Arizona Cardinals without a new contract. So this kind of throws a wrench in things a little bit, Mike. Kyle, what are your thoughts on Kyler Murray? Do you think that's warranted that he's demanding this contract? Do you think that he's, earned a top tier quarterback contract? And do you think that he's going to play with the Arizona Cardinals in the future? Or is this, I think Mike just cut out. So now I'm just basically asking myself a question, but I'll just get to talking a little bit about Kyler Murray. Of course, having some technical difficulties. Mike, can you hear me?
I can hear you, Joe.
Okay, all right. I was just asking you about Kyler Murray. Do you think that him asking for this contract is warranted? Do you think that he'll get the contract? Do you think that he's going to be a member of the Cardinals week 1 of the 2022 NFL season?
Well, it depends. Are we talking first half of the season Kyler Murray or second half of the season Kyler Murray? Because
that's
it seems
fair.
like every season in the beginning, the first 6 to 8 games, Kyler Murray is MVP level Kyler Murray, best quarterback in the league, Kyler Murray. And then we get into crunch time when the games matter, and where's Kyler Murray? He's on the bench pouting. Perfect clip is, I believe Cardinals are playing the Rams. And it was Monday Night Football Manning cast, and you hear Peyton Manning and Eli and Russell Wilson talking about, what Kyler needs to do. They're down 10 in the fourth quarter, something like that. Like, what do they need to do? And Russell Wilson's like, well, if I'm Kyler Murray, I'm running up and down the sideline saying, this game's in reach, we can do this, hyping the guys up. And right at that moment, it pans to Kyler Murray, and he's literally sitting there with the most, I am over it face.
Yes.
And that's not what you need out of your quarterback. You need a leader. Down 14 points with 7 minutes to go, you need to be up there hey, guys, just one drive at a time. We can make this happen. You don't need to be sitting there on a bench pouting. I think this contract extension, in my eyes, he hasn't proven a whole lot other than he can play football for the first 8 games of the season. If I'm a player, of course, I want a contract extension. But, if I'm Kyler Murray, you hope for a contract extension, but then you go out and you prove that you deserve it. Don't sit on the bench based off what you've done because, Le'Veon Bell, sat on the bench because he thought, he was worth so much money and his career completely fell off after that. And I would hate to see, Kyler Murray go through the same thing.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing, and this is just part of the NFL now. The NFL's changing. Player empowerment is becoming a bigger deal, and a bigger thing. And we're just going to continue to see this throughout the NFL as players, sitting until they get that new contract. Kyler Murray, I agree with you in the fact that I don't think that he's completely proven that I don't think he deserves, I don't think that he deserves elite quarterback money. I don't think that he deserves Patrick Mahomes. And again, who am I to say what he deserves and what he doesn't deserve? You're worth what people will pay you. But, has he proven to be an elite quarterback the same way that Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes? Not really. He's played really well, like Micah said, through the first half of seasons. But I definitely think that there's still some to be desired there. That being said, I think that if all of a sudden this comes to a head, I think teams will be lining up all the way to Arizona to trade for Kyler Murray, because I think he's got talent like you can't find, in the draft or wherever. I think he's one of the more talented quarterbacks in the NFL, in my opinion. And listen, my team, the Dolphins, listen, if Kyler Murray's available, I'll fly to Arizona. Honestly, I'll do it. I'm sorry. I'm going to support Tua this season, but come on, if Kyler Murray's available, I'll do a road trip with Tua, send him to Arizona, and they can swap number 1 jerseys.
Joe, I got to ask you a question. Would you rather have Kyler Murray on the Dolphins and start off 7-8 or 8-0, playoff bound, and then completely collapse, go to the playoffs and collapse in the first game, or have Tua play absolute dog water for 8 games, and then all of a sudden the Dolphins go on this run and nearly make the playoffs or make the playoffs. Who knows what happens? Dude, I mean, I'm sticking with Tua. You know,
both those sound miserable.
Yeah, I'll take that that late season run. You know, Kyler Murray has yet to show me that he can do anything in the playoffs and anything past the 10th game of the regular season. Plus, he had a lot of. He had the injuries last year, the ankle injuries that kept him out for a good while. So health concerns.
Injuries have been an issue for him.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know.
Yeah,
we'll have to see. If he does decide to sit, though, I don't think that'd be the right decision.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a weird situation. I think that he's still got stuff to prove, but he obviously feels like he doesn't. But we still got stuff to prove in this episode. I think that wraps up the news, Mike. Unless you got anything else.
One more. I'll just quickly talk about it. You missed one thing. And that is the Packers signing Sammy Watkins to a deal 1 year up to $4 million. Aaron Rodgers gets his number one receiver he's always wanted. The big name guy.
Yes.
That's just gonna go out and get every catch. So kudos to Aaron for finally getting his wish.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him. That's a live look into the Green Bay Packers organization. We got him. Sammy Watkins, baby.
Aaron Rodgers doing the discount double check, baby.
He finally got his number one wideout. Forget Devontae Adams. Forget Tyreek Hill. Forget all these guys. He got Sammy Watkins, baby.
Super Bowl winning Sammy Watkins.
See, that's right. Super Bowl winning? Who did he? Oh, yeah. He won the Super Bowl with the Chiefs. Duh. I totally forgot Sammy Watkins was on the Chiefs. Darn, that was not that long ago. What the heck?
Joe, he's a Super Bowl champ. How can you forget it?
Dude, he actually low-key played really, really good in that Super Bowl. He had
burnt Richard Sherman.
Yes. He burnt the pants off Richard Sherman in that game. Dang. I totally forgot about that. No, but in all seriousness, Sammy Watkins is a good, he's a serviceable receiver.
Good number 2.
He's probably the instant. I think not probably. He definitely becomes at least the number 2 there in Green Bay. And I think all this does. This does not, I hope, rule them out of taking a receiver in the first round at all. But if anything, now they don't have to take 2 in the first round, like a lot of people are saying. Now you can go defense or offensive line with that second pick. But definitely be interesting to see what they do in the draft. They still have to get a receiver, right?
You would think so, but with the way the Packers are after re-signing Aaron Rodgers, they're probably like, well, he can't talk, smack and leave us now. We got him under contract, so let's go get a offense lineman, defense lineman. We don't need another receiver. Randall Cobb, Sammy Watkins, we're Super Bowl bound.
They're just gonna package their 2 first-round picks to trade up and draft Malik Willis.
Yeah. Oh, could you, dude? Jordan Love, Malik Willis, and Aaron Rodgers. What a stacked team. This
the best quarterback trio in the NFL,
dude, the
baby.
2016 Pats, we're running with 3 quarterbacks. Let's go.
Yeah. Step aside, Jimmy G, Jacoby Brissett, and Tom Brady. We got a new quarterback trio, the most useless position to have 3 good players at. That's phenomenal. No, that should be interesting, but I think that's a perfect transition into the draft. Draft picks that we'd like to see this upcoming draft. Mike, do you want to start it off, or do you want me to start it off? What do you think?
Absolutely. I got you, man.
So these are picks that we would like to see. Like certain players going to certain teams.
Yep.
And I did mine kind of realistic, I don't know how realistic yours are, but I try to keep and if they're not, that's totally fine. But I try to keep mine somewhat within reason. Some of them maybe you'd need to trade up to get these players, but I don't know how you approached it.
I try to get it as close as what we might see in a draft. I'm no draft expert, so I could be horribly wrong. But one pick I'd like to see, Joe, is the Carolina Panthers do not have a starting quarterback in my eyes.
Okay.
They got DJ Moore and Christian McCaffrey. Their defense isn't bad. I think they should go after Stephon Gilmore and re-sign him. But I would like to see Kenny Pickett, quarterback out of Pittsburgh, man.
Okay.
6'3", 217-pound quarterback.
Tiny hands Pickett?
Tiny hand. Hey, we got Christian McCaffrey, who's just a short guy in the running back, and then you're gonna have a quarterback with short hands. I mean,
short hands.
What's not to love there? Unless they're in the market for like Baker Mayfield, who I think is getting, drugged through the mud for I don't know what reason.
Oh my goodness.
But why not go after a young quarterback to maybe? Oh, I don't even want to say sit behind Sam Darnold because you don't want to learn from Sam Darnold. That guy just sees ghosts all the time. I think go out, get you a quarterback, and just throw him in because you cannot be worse than what you have behind Cam Newton and Sam Darnold. I'm a Cam Newton fan, but he did not play well last year at all. So go get you your guy. Flip this team around, get you a good leader on the offense. He might have small hands, but he has a big heart.
There you go. Kenny Pickett. I don't know about the vibes of having a quarterback named Pickett. I feel like that just is setting yourself up for disaster, especially in Carolina. But no, I'm kidding. I think a lot of people think that Kenny Pickett is like the most pro-ready quarterback in this draft class. Like he's the guy who should be, ready to go. And I think it makes a lot of sense. And I wouldn't be surprised to see Carolina take Kenny Pickett. I think they're desperate. Their owner, David Tepper, is getting desperate for a quarterback, and definitely would not be surprised to see that. But that's a good one. I'm gonna stick with the quarterback theme. I have a quarterback as well, and it's a quarterback that we just talked about, the Green Bay Packers potentially taking. But I'm gonna go with Malik Willis, who's one of the most intriguing prospects in this draft class. Just a ton of tools, just a cannon for an arm. Can run the ball, run the heck out of the ball. Like he's a running back with the ball in his hands. I'm going to say Malik Willis getting drafted by the Minnesota Vikings. To me, if you listen to this podcast at all, any of the draft podcasts, I have been pounding the table for the last 3 years for the Minnesota Vikings. Go and get a quarterback. Go get a quarterback, okay? Listen, Kirk Cousins is fine. I understand. Go get a quarterback that can elevate, this offense. Kirk Cousins can't take you to the playoffs with Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen, Dalvin Cook. And the reason I chose Malik Willis to go here is I think Malik Willis is the most talented quarterback in this draft class, but a lot of people say he's very raw. He's not quite NFL ready. He hasn't quite figured out, the nuances of the game. But what better situation than have Malik Willis come in, sit a couple years. You can sit 1, maybe even 2 years behind Kirk Cousins. And then when Kirk Cousins finally stops making guaranteed money for the Minnesota Vikings, you bring him in and you immediately have him surrounded with talent. I know in 2 or 3 years, maybe Adam Thielen's not there, but you still have Justin Jefferson. They have a couple of other younger receivers that are good. Irv Smith is a good tight end. Dalvin Cook. Like I just think bringing Malik Willis into a team that has established weapons and has like an established quarterback that you can sit behind, I think that is the perfect situation for Malik Willis. And I think Minnesota or like a place like Pittsburgh where he doesn't have to start right away, I think that's the perfect situation for Malik Willis.
Yeah, Joe, I could, I have, Malik Willis on here as well. And one of the places I was thinking of sending him was the Vikings.
No way.
I think he broke that down very well. And, I couldn't agree more. I think the Vikings need and got hopefully better coaching. They were like 8 games away from, being in the playoffs because they had so many games they lost by like 1 or 2, 3 points. Yeah. And Kirk Cousins, as well as he has played, I don't think he's like a game changer, more of a game manager. Like he'll get you your stats, but he's not going to take control of the game like a Josh Allen and a Pat Mahomes. So maybe go get you a quarterback. Maybe just sit on the bench for a year. Learn behind Kirk Cousins, and maybe he can be your next guy. I think that's a perfect pick, Joe. I'm gonna go with the Eagles as my next team.
Okay,
and they're gonna grab Jamison Williams, a wide receiver out of Alabama, to line up against his former Alabama teammate. I lost my train of thought there. 6'2", 180-pound wide receiver. Nothing massive. But, you don't need to be big to absolutely destroy with speed and route running, as we've seen with Tyreek Hill. And this man knows how to route run, Joe. This man is just a beast with his feet. I think that Devontae Smith and Jameson Williams could really help Justin Fields outside of Miles Sanders. You know, when we saw the Eagles really take off last year, it was when they got the run game going. And how about we throw in another receiver in the mix to give Justin Fields someone to throw the ball to outside of Devontae Smith? I think the Eagles go receiver.
I just want to say you're saying Justin Fields. I just want to correct you, Jalen Hurts.
Oh no, Jalen Hurts. I had Jalen Hurts in my mind the whole time, Joe. I appreciate you calling me out on that.
I totally understand. I have a friend, Joel. He's a big Eagles fan. So if he's listening to this podcast, he is gonna roast you if he hears you saying Justin Fields.
You know what the worst part is? I'm literally looking at like the Eagles depth chart. And I'm looking at Jalen Hurts, and like in my mind, I was saying Jalen Hurts. Let me just rephrase. Who not better than to get another receiver from Alabama to line up beside Devontae Smith. Have Jalen Hurts
there
throwing
you go.
him the football. Miles Sanders in the backfield. I mean, get that offense going. I feel like their defense is fine for the moment being. Maybe get some defensive players in the second, third round pick. But no, I think get you another receiver who's fast, who's good with his feet, good ball catching skills. Second, I believe, in receivers in the draft, ranking wise. So yeah, go get you a receiver to help that offense, because that's what we saw struggle the most against the Bucs in the playoffs.
Yeah, they're turning into the Philadelphia Crimson Tide with Devontae Smith, Jameson Williams, and Jalen Hurts played for for Bama as well before going to Oklahoma. So you just reunite all those guys together. I mean, I don't think Jameson Williams actually played with the other two guys, but that definitely makes a whole lot of sense. I actually had Jameson Williams as one of my picks as well. I had him going to the Green Bay Packers.
Oh, okay.
We just talked about the Packers again. Go get a receiver. There's a good chance he doesn't make it down to the Packers picks. Maybe they'd have to trade up to get him. I think the only way that he makes it is because he got injured. I think he tore his ACL.
Okay.
He tore his ACL in the championship game, I believe it was. But a lot of people, I think you said he was a number 2. I think Drake London is usually is a number 1 for a lot of people, or Garrett Wilson. But I think a lot of people think that without the injuries, Jameson Williams would be the best receiver in this draft class, and just he is a deep threat. And I think you talked about his speed, and that's an element that this Packers team hasn't really had. Even with Devontae Adams, he was never a speed guy. He was never a down the field type of guy. So just bringing in him to be that down the field threat, make big plays. And then you have Sammy Watkins, who's now on that team, and he's really quick as well. Just a lot of speed matched with Alan Lazard, who's more of an underneath receiver. But, definitely, I would love to see. I think Jameson Williams is going to be really good. You have him going to the Eagles. I had him going to the Packers. But for one of my next picks, and this is a little known player, not a whole lot of people have maybe heard of this guy, but it's Aiden Hutchinson. The number 1 prospect in this draft class. He's projected to go number 1 overall by a lot of people. I'm a huge Michigan fan. Well, okay, I won't say huge Michigan fan. I don't know if I deserve that title, but I'm a Michigan fan. I loved watching him and David Ajabo tear up college football this past season. Love Aiden Hutchinson, and my ideal dream scenario for Aiden Hutchinson is to see him go to the Detroit Lions with the number 2 pick in the 2020 NFL draft. A lot of people projecting him to go number 1 overall to the Jacksonville Jaguars. No thanks. I want to see him go to the Detroit Lions. He's from Michigan. He's born and raised in Michigan. He went to school, University of Michigan. What better place to go for your pro career than Detroit, Michigan, and go play for Motor City Dan and the Detroit Lions. I wish people could see Mike's face when I said Motor City Dan. It's getting fired up. I just think that Aiden Hutchinson, man, this guy is unreal. He's a phenomenal prospect. A great edge rusher, and he plays with like a tenacity and a love for the game. I feel like he would fit in so well in Detroit. To me, this pick gets me so much, like almost the most excited out of all these dream scenarios, just to see him, go to Detroit, a team that I love where they're going in the future. And just, I feel like he fits the Detroit Lions 100%.
Yeah, no, that's a good point, Joe. You gotta love what Motor City Dan's doing over there. They got the number 2 overall pick, and I believe the number 32 overall pick. So I really hope that the Lions can get it figured out. Get some good players. I really want to see the Lions succeed, especially in Hard Knocks. We got the Hard Knocks coming up. I'm excited to watch that. I think it's gonna be a lot of fun. And I know you had already talked about Malik Willis. But that brings me to my next pick, Joe. I have Malik Willis going to the New York Giants.
Whoa!
I don't think Daniel Jones is the answer. I don't think Tyrod Taylor is the answer. Giants got the number 5 overall pick, the number 7 overall pick. So if they take Willis at 5, they can take whoever else they're wanting 2 picks later. So I think it's time to move on from Daniel Jones. He has proven year in and year out that he is just. Oh wow! I got a video going on my computer here. Hold on one second. He has just proven year in and year out that he just can't get it done. Like we see, he's very much like a Tua-esque player, where you see the plays that you're like, wow, like this is the guy we got. This is why we went and got him. And then 2 plays later, he's throwing the ball backwards or just throwing it, a pick to a defensive lineman because it's just the man is so hot and cold. So I think it's time for them to move on. And why not go and get you, I believe, the top quarterback in the draft in Malik Willis, Joe?
Absolutely. That makes sense. Listen, and, he's a guy who's raw and he could make a bunch of dumb mistakes as well. But you got Brian Daboll there, the new head coach of the New York Giants, and you saw what he did with the athleticism of Josh Allen. You bring in a super athletic guy like Malik Willis, makes a ton of sense. I think that would be a stunner to see them go out and pick up a quarterback. But definitely interesting to see. I'm all for chaos. And another pick that I have is actually a tight end. This is the first one. This is not a first round pick. So this is diving a little deep for you guys. Okay. I don't know a ton of, I'm not a huge draft head, but, we're going a little deeper. I got a tight end, and it's Trey McBride. A lot of people think that he is he's the best tight end in this draft class. Pro Football Focus compares him to Dallas Goedert, who I think is one of the better tight ends in the NFL. So listen, a good player. I have Trey McBride going to the Indianapolis Colts. They're a team. Listen, they brought in Matt Ryan. They need more weapons. Their first pick is the 42nd pick. So listen, a lot of the good receivers are going to be off the board at that point.
That's a good point, Joe.
It is a deep receiver class, but a lot of the big guys I think are going to get picked in the first round. All they have a tight end right now basically is Mo Alley Cox, who's a decent player. I think having that solid safety blanket of a tight end is so important, especially for these veteran quarterbacks as they get a little bit older and not so mobile. I think bringing in Trey McBride and then maybe picking up a receiver later in the draft or picking up Odell Beckham or Jarvis Landry or Julio Jones, one of these free agent wide receivers. I just think I think that would be a dream scenario for the Indianapolis Colts, in my opinion.
No, that's a good point, Joe. I don't think the Colts have really had a steady tight end other than Jack Doyle there for a while.
Yeah.
And he's not a big name tight end either. I think that's a great pick after picking up Matt Ryan. You always need your tight end. You always need your go-to guy if your receivers ain't open. And like you mentioned about Odell, I saw he had surgery, and apparently he repaired something in one of his tendons that they didn't fix properly last time. So this could extend his career. So I would love to see him go to the Colts. And then go get you a tight end. Go get you something that you're missing on the offense. Their defense was great last year with Darius Leonard, leading the way. So, you got T.Y. Hilton, you got Michael Pittman. Go get you a big tight end. You got Jonathan Taylor, you got your quarterback and Matt Ryan, hopefully. So all you're really missing is that tight end position, Joe. I think that's a great pick.
Thank you.
Which leads me to what is my final, I guess, pick I have. I thought I had another one, but I realized I just screenshotted the same picture twice on accident.
Okay.
So I got wide receiver Drake London from USC. Pretty big boy, 220, 6'4". I got
All
either the
right.
Packers or the Patriots trading up to get this pick.
Okay.
Both teams are in dire need, which actually Patriots got Devontae Parker, which hopefully that works out. But who, nothing like Bill Belichick to go and get 17 receivers and then cut half of them before the season starts. So trade up, get you a big guy, who will go up and get the ball. Like we talked about with the Packers, they are in dire need of a number one overall receiver after losing Devonta Adams. I know they got Sammy Watkins, Randall Cobb, but Aaron Rodgers needs this guy, and he's been shouting for it for the past couple seasons that they want a number one overall wide receiver. And the Patriots, after getting Devontae Parker, that ship might have sailed. But there's been a lot of talk that they are wanting to go wide receiver in the first round. So why not trade up, try to get a big guy for Mac Jones, your second year quarterback, to throw up to. Because I think the defense on the Pats is shaping up pretty well. We're 1 or 2 picks away from having a solid top 10 defense. So let's get the offense rolling to where we can put up 40 plus points a game.
All right, there you go. Drake London to the Patriots. Just a quick question: who would you rather have him go to, the Patriots or the Packers?
Well, I'll say Packers just for the fact of
Really? Okay,
just for the fact that we got Devontae Parker, and I would hate to see like the Pats release another one of their good receivers just because they got a draft pick. Like I think their receiving core is pretty good right now. No big massive names, but I think that they'll fit Mac Jones very well. Behind Kendrick Bourne and Jacoby Myers, Nelson Aguilar, and Devontae Parker. So I think our receivers are fine. So I think the Packers need him more than the Pats do.
That's fair. That's definitely fair. I do wonder if the Packers will use their 2 picks to trade up and get like one of these top tier receivers. And same with like teams like the Saints now have like 2 first round picks. Like who's going to trade up, who's going to trade down? Definitely an intriguing thing. But yeah, no, that'll be an interesting pick. I'm interested to see where Drake London goes. I think he has the ability to be a number 1 receiver. I got 2 quick ones here before we wrap up the show. 2 defensive backs.
Okay.
I got first one, Derek Stingley Jr. I don't know if you've heard much about.
I saw that. I saw him.
Okay, Derek Stingley Jr. Had one of the greatest freshman seasons in the history of college football for a cornerback. And the last 2 seasons, injuries and lack of motivation, hasn't really been there. But Derek Stingley going, and listen, this would have to be a trade-up scenario. This would have to be the team trading up because there's no way he's falling to the 31st overall pick. And that's the Cincinnati Bengals going and getting Derek Stingley Jr. from where? LSU. And who else went to LSU?
Tyrann
Joe
Mathieu.
Shiesty.
Oh,
Tyrann
sorry.
Mathieu. And Tyrann Mathieu as well. Tyrann Mathieu.
No, I'm just
Joe
playing,
Shiesty. Okay, I wasn't sure.
Jamar Chase.
Jamar, I thought you were being serious. That's hilarious. Tyrann Mathieu. I was like, he's not on the team, Mike, but that's fair.
No, I was messing with you, Joe.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, you got Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase. Listen, what happened last year in the draft? Joe Burrow basically hand-selected the first-round pick for the Cincinnati Bengals. Worked out pretty dang good. He went and got himself a teammate from LSU. Jamar Chase had one of the greatest rookie receiving seasons of all time. They made the Super Bowl. Why not just, let Joe Burrow do it again? Go up, get Derek Stingley. And like I said, when's the last time he played good? His true freshman season. Who was on the team during his true freshman season? Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase. What better way to get this guy motivated? Get him in the training room, keep him healthy, get him motivated. He's got all the traits to be a number 1 cornerback, and you can immediately replace Eli Apple, who's not very good. Bring in Derek Stingley. He's that number 1 corner for you. I just think all those LSU guys together. It's going to be it is the Cincinnati Bengals, which is a tiger, the LSU Tigers, the LSU Bengal Tiger, it all fits. It just makes sense. Why not go get, an uber talented guy, and you'd have to trade up to go get him.
Joe, I did see something. The Bengals are getting an indoor practice facility, which would benefit very well.
Are they seriously?
I saw something about it. I think it's true. Let me do some research while you talk about your next pick.
Okay, fair. There we go. Let's quickly do research after we make the statements. I love that. That's the average Joe football show, baby.
That is what we do on this show, man.
That's what we do.
We make sure our facts are true.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, no. So Derek Stingley Jr., I think that would be awesome. And then I was trying to think of teams that we don't talk about very much on the podcast, trying to give them a little love. And I thought of the New York Jets. We don't talk about the New York Jets very much. Who's a dream pick that I'd love to see for them? Another corner. How about Sauce Gardner? Ahmad Sauce Gardner. First of all, Sauce. He goes by Sauce, which is incredible. What an incredible nickname. The Jets have nothing at cornerback. You need to build yourself a culture. You need to get yourself a dog. And I love Sauce Gardner's attitude. You know, the whole draft process, he's saying, I'm the best player in the draft. You know, I'm the best corner. I'm going to go down and I'm going to shut down receivers in the NFL. He's got this cockiness, this confidence to him. You know, Jets, go get a guy that can change up the attitude of your defense and just change up the attitude of your team. You know, I think that'd be a super good pick for the New York Jets. Just go get a guy who can, you know, just bring a little nastiness to that defense that I think already has some pieces on it, but definitely lacking corners.
I like that, Joe. I like that. You know, Bob, how do you pronounce his last name? I butchered it last time.
Salah?
There we go.
Yeah.
You know, he used to be a defensive coordinator for the Niners. Why not go get you a defensive player that's going to help bulk that defense? You know,
exactly.
I'm actually
kind
of
get you
expecting,
a Richard Sherman type.
Yeah, I'm expecting Zach Wilson to have a pretty solid year after his rookie campaign. So I would love to see that for sure. And also, Bengals are planning on getting an indoor practice facility. It's kind of like a bubble.
No way.
It's kind of like a bubble, like the Vikings' old stadium, that like white bubbly deal. So yeah, it is a fact. That's what we do here on the show. We just speak facts.
No way. We just speak facts, baby.
Yeah. Hashtag facts don't care about your feelings, man.
Hashtag facts don't care about your feelings. What better way to end the show than with straight facts, Mike? Draft is coming up next week. Make sure, not next week is the draft, but next week we are having our annual Average Joe Football Show mock draft. But it's not just me this time. That's right. It's not just me spitting straight facts, but Mike's going to be on next. We're going to do a little, back and forth mock draft. We're going to do a lot more research on the draft than we have already. Although I feel like we're borderline experts after today's episode, and we hope you guys are as well.
What is it? Mel Kiper? Mel? Is it Mel Kiper?
Yeah, Mike Kiper.
We're going to call him Mike Kiper. All right, and we got Joe Glazer.
Mike Kiper. I'll be Joe McShay.
There you go.
Mike Kiper and Joe McShay. Absolutely, that's going to be us next week on the episode. But Mike, I don't know if you have anything else you want to bring to the forefront before we wrap up this week's episode. You're actually in the episode for the end of it. You weren't here last week, but I'm giving you an opportunity here at the end.
Tiger Woods has filed entry for the U.S. Open, Joe. This is going to be legendary. Back
more
to
golf
the intro
talk.
With golf. Let's go.
Very
Tiger
good.
could hardly walk, after the tournament this week, and he's entered the next massive open. So we'll see how that plays out. But, Tiger's good for the sport of golf, so I'm pumped to see it.
Yeah, no kidding. Listen, Tiger Woods, it's always good to have stars in your league, that's for sure.
Also, before we end, quick shout out to my Timberwolves and Patrick Beverley. Absolutely killing it. Favorite NBA player, his time is now, like he has stated. And, I love watching him, man. He's just an absolute monster.
Did you see him crying after they made it to the playoffs?
Dude, the man just obliterated his former team in the Clippers. Called them weak rear ends, if you know what I'm saying. The man's just unstoppable.
Oh, man. Patrick Beverley. I always say when I see Patrick Beverley, he looks like he bites. Like, he looks like if you'd get too close to him, he would just bite you right on the arm. Like, he's a scary, savage man. But no, man, NBA playoffs are coming, man.
Yes.
Yeah, NBA playoffs are coming. My Raptors are playing the Sixers. Go Raptors, baby. We the North. Hoping to upset the Philadelphia 76ers. I went to a Raptors game literally just like 2 weeks ago. So nice. That was really fun. I got to go see Kyle Lowry's return. That was dope. But excited for the NBA playoffs. And excited for the NFL draft. Excited for this podcast, Mike. Thanks for joining us again. I don't know why you wouldn't join us, but just thanks in general for just being here.
Is always the best time, getting on here,
Absolutely.
talking with my boy.
Yes, man. And we're just like we said, we're just talking straight facts. As far as like the audio, guys, I hope I didn't mess things up too bad. This one's gonna be a real slobber knocker to edit for me. It's gonna be a challenge. But make sure you guys follow us on social media, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. Mike's rocking the TikTok over there at _Average Joe Show. Make sure you guys subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Give us a 5-star rating. Give us a review. Be nice. Subscribe. It just helps us so much if you just subscribe. It just automatically downloads. It helps us and it helps you. It's a win-win. And for Mike and for myself, looking forward to the draft season, the NFL draft coming up. But until then, we will catch you guys on the next one.